This guy was making fun of me yesterday, right? Because I would always withdraw $100 a day out of. We got a grocery store here that allows us to just go up to the register, put our card in, and just take out up to $100, no fee or anything. And he's like, "Yo, you never get haircuts," and it's because I just don't feel like waiting, man. I don't feel like waiting in a barbershop for an hour. I really need to get one though. I get like a haircut every year, it seems like. But what I want to speak about is Fatball Sicilian and Rob from Convict Inc.'s beef. It's been heating up and it's been going on for quite some time now. And somebody in the comment section of Convict Inc. actually said, "Rob, you need to stop focusing on this. You need to focus on pushing forward." And I like Rob. I first discovered Rob in the algorithm, a recommended video. It was about Rob. It was a story that Rob told about a guy who was in La M, Mexican Mafia, and he was telling the story about how this big-time OG in the Mexican Mafia was pimping out this young Sereno and all of that. That was the first video I seen. Then I binge-watched all of his videos. At that point, he only had a few videos, and he had like 3,000 subscribers. Last time I really zoned in on Rob, he had about 6,000 subscribers, and now that I've checked recently, he has like almost 10,000, and he's doing better and better, man. I haven't watched a lot of his videos recently, and that's because I zone out so much and I binge watch so many videos that I take, it's like, if I like a channel, I'll watch all the videos, and I'll watch them for like a month. I'll watch them 3-4 times if the video is good. And it gets to a point where I'm kind of like done with it, and then I'll let that channel build up some new content, do some new stuff, and then I'll come back, and then it'll be fresh. So I'm going to probably binge watch Rob's videos again, maybe in a couple of weeks, and watch everything that I've missed. But I see that he's made a lot of progress. He's got a lot more subscribers, and he's making a lot more noise, which is a wonderful thing, because I'm of the mindset that you deserve a second chance. If you're a guy who did your time, you didn't tell on anyone, you didn't put anybody in prison, you just stuck to the code, whatever the code is, the imaginary G code, and instead of throwing somebody else under the bus, you decided to evolve and grow on your own terms. You use your prison time for your own self-evolution as opposed to somebody else's incarceration, right? I respect that. Hey, I'm going to do this time. I'm not going to get anybody else busted. I'm going to do this time and I'm going to grow from it. I respect people who have that mindset. Now, Fatball Sicilian, I am aware of who he is because like I said, I binge watch videos. So maybe a year ago, I was binge watching a lot of mob interviews, a lot of these guys who were not really made men. They were associates of the mob, like that guy who was friends with Greg Scarpa, the guy, he wrote a book, I forgot his name, but he was a guy that I actually ended up dating Greg Scarpa's wife. Greg Scarpa was okay with it because he had other girlfriends and wives, and he, did an interview with Flat TV talking about the Colombo Wars and how he killed a few people. I forgot his name, but you probably know who I'm talking about. But I was into the mob world, and I ran across Fatball Sicilian, and he seemed like a cool guy. I liked the fact that he was honest about the fact that he was a former drug addict. I liked the fact that he kept it real about who he was. And I liked the fact that he was like, hey, man, this is me. I'm who I am. If you don't like it, the hell with you. And people would go at him. Some people would say he's not really Sicilian. He's really Turkish. Just, making fun of him and stuff like that. And he really was going at it with John A-Light. John A-Light, I'm not really sure how to feel about him. I think that John A-Light is like 60% true, 40% exaggeration. But for the most part, I do think that I think that Fatball Sicilian is a pretty decent dude, and I think that Rob is a decent dude, and I think that these guys probably should end the beef and collaborate. But here's the thing. We're dealing with a guy, Rob. He's only been home for 1 year. Rob's been in an atmosphere where he had to prove himself, where he couldn't be disrespected and allow it, where he had to stand for himself. You got to understand, he's been away for 26 years in federal prison. So his mindset is different from mine or yours. In prison, you can't just allow somebody to treat you any kind of way, disrespect you or whatever. So he probably is learning how to deal with these things. Every day he's probably getting better. So I have a lot of sympathy for Rob because I understand he comes from an environment where he has to prove himself. He comes from gladiator school. And, if somebody challenges you, you can't back down. And, yeah, man, it's funny because Rob actually was in a prison content genre. And the mob genre was something that he kind of accidentally slipped into. He kind of slipped on a banana peel and ended up in the mob genre by mistake because he did time with a lot of guys in the mob. And I think what it is this. Rob knows who these mobsters are. He was behind the wall with them when they were at their worst, when they were doing life sentences, when they were on the gladiator ground, when you could really see what these guys were made of, when they didn't have access to political figures, when they didn't have access to bid rigging, corrupting people, extorting people, guns, hitmen, the whole apparatus of the mob. All they had was their balls and their word and their prison jumpsuit and their prison number. And Rob got to see these guys in this raw environment, and he got to see what they were really made of. And I think he came away not unimpressed, but just, hey, these guys are normal guys. The only reason why they were top echelon criminals is because they had access to so many resources. But in the pen, when they were by themselves and you could really see what they were made of, they weren't really like that. But he has respect for him because he's Italian. Now, I don't know, maybe Rob's Italian and the Fatball's Sicilian is Sicilian. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a Sicilian versus Italian thing. Because if you know anything about Italy, Sicilians don't even consider themselves to be Italian. They consider themselves to be Sicilian. And depending on what part of Sicily you're from, it's like, hey, you're not a real Sicilian. I'm a real Sicilian because I'm over in this area. So, yeah, man, I hope that they can end the beef. I hope they can stop the beef. I honestly don't even know what it's about. Yeah. And I just, yeah, man, I hope the best for both of them. Peace.